Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope that you're all doing well and that you're all having an absolutely fantastic day. As always, leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing helps out the channel, helps out my algorithm. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. I don't know what's happening. But for some reason the news is getting weirder. And I will try my best as usual to stay level-headed and stay down the middle as I always do. You know what I'm known for. However, the largest portion of the news continues to not make a lot of sense, and a lot of the news that we're getting more and more every day feels like some kind of a fever dream almost, in that the things that I'm reading and the things that people are saying and the things that people think are true, or the things that people simply don't know about, is a little bit staggering, and I think it's lightly worrying for the market. That's not a joke. That is an actual, you know how like I always say, like, do your own research and make sure that you're reading stuff on the internet. Make sure you know what's going on in the world around you. I think we've kind of gotten to the point where maybe in a cyclical manner, we simply have looped back to the very first day that cryptocurrencies were invented. You'll see what I mean. And for those of you who were wondering, this was one of the most popular news stories out there. Former Facebook and PayPal executive, his name is David Marcus, believes that Bitcoin's underlying technology could serve as the basis for a universal financial protocol on the internet. I will elaborate, I promise. David Marcus, currently the CEO of Lightspark, proposed a somewhat unconventional vision for Bitcoin in an interview that he had with CNBC. Now remember the words, an unconventional vision for Bitcoin. Known for his past roles as president of PayPal and a leader in Facebook's cryptocurrency initiatives, Marcus has shared a vision for Bitcoin that diverges from its common perception as a store of value. Instead, he sees Bitcoin as a foundation for a global payment network, a role his new venture Lightspark aims to facilitate. Who got it? Who saw what was wrong immediately as I was going through it? One of the most popular and nonsensical news stories of the day is that David Marcus, not a common figurehead within the cryptocurrency space, he was more popular years ago when he was more vocal about his approach in the cryptocurrency space, when he worked for Facebook, when he worked for PayPal, what have you, talking about the future of cryptocurrencies, has proposed and put forth the idea that Bitcoin should be a global payment network. Now imagine my surprise in seeing an article talk about this, and then seeing dozens of articles talking about how revolutionary that it is that the former head of Facebook and PayPal said that Bitcoin should not just be a store of value, but Bitcoin should be used for payments. Remember when I said it felt like we've literally gone back to the very first day of finding out that we even have a cryptocurrency? Most people heard about it in the news around maybe 2011, 2012. You go, what, internet money? That sounds really weird. The idea of Bitcoin as digital gold is not something that has always been there. Bitcoin was made to be a global payments network. This is why we have the discussion that it is possible for billions of people around the world to download a Bitcoin wallet and use Bitcoin as they so choose, when they so choose, at any given time they so choose. That's the entire point of Bitcoin. The idea of Bitcoin as a store of value, and I'm going to explain this. This isn't something that's normally spoken about anymore. A lot of the hate that Bitcoin got back in 2016, 17, 18, 19 had to do with cryptocurrency advocates announcing that at some point Bitcoin would be a store of value similar to gold, but a lot of people mistake as to why they understand or believe that this is going to happen. So what ended up happening is that as these crypto advocates went onto the news, went onto financial platforms to announce that Bitcoin is doing X, Y, and Z, and one day in the future would be a global store of value similar to gold, the news stories ran away with this and simply said, well, 2 years have passed. Bitcoin's price keeps falling. Bitcoin's price has gone up, but it's not stable. The idea being Bitcoin goes to 50,000 and Bitcoin's price is supposed to stay there. That's not how Bitcoin works. As more and more people around the world continue to use Bitcoin, whether it be to hold it, to send it to their friends for remittances, to trade with it, the value of Bitcoin continues to rise. I know you may look at Bitcoin's price now, but once again, I'm going to try and stay completely down the middle. So if I say anything that sounds completely insane, just forgive me. I've been in this market for a very long time, and I've walked through the mud. Sometimes the mud really stinks and isn't usually mud. It's because of the nonsense that people continuously push out into the cryptocurrency space, that they continue to put on Twitter, that they continue to put on Reddit, mostly because a lot of them don't understand what cryptocurrencies are. They may not own them, or if they do or did own them, the value of their coins fell down because they got in during a hype cycle, and now they're very, you can use the term salty, angry. They don't like crypto, and they think that something's wrong with it because they have refused to actually try to understand what the cryptocurrency space actually is, and that's their fault. No one else's but there. We have a very big problem in life and in the cryptocurrency space where people who are adults have a very hard time figuring out, oh, this was my fault. This was no one else's fault. The idea is that as time goes on and more people are using it, and as we have more halvings, Bitcoin's price will mathematically go up. If you continue to have the exact same amount of interest in the market, the supply and demand roughly remains exactly the same as we have a halving, the supply and demand will in essence double. It has been cut down by 50%. The same amount of demand is there, but those people are now going after half of what they were going before. Therefore, in essence, it would have doubled. I'm air quoting here. As time goes on and we continue to get those ideas of a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 Bitcoin sounds nice to your wallet and to your bank account, but those numbers actually have to do with solidifying Bitcoin's place as an actual store of value. The idea being, and this is why we continue to have those 2024, 2028, 2032 Bitcoin price discussions, is that as roughly we get around to $1 million Bitcoin, should be sometime before 2032. I don't know the future. This is the idea of it. Bitcoin's price will have stabilized. The idea of $1 million Bitcoin means that we have seen people begin to sell, and they have begun to sell other assets. We've seen this already happening in the world right now. It may not happen at the same pace that it's going to happen in the future. However, the idea is that you probably at some point have sold off an old car. You sold off an old television you didn't need. Maybe you sold some extra stuff you had around the house. Maybe, you got rid of something else to be able to put that money into Bitcoin, into the cryptocurrency market. That's the liquidation of other assets because of where you currently see Bitcoin's price. The idea being is that as Bitcoin's price continues to double fold, that is to say, during the next bull run, if we end up getting to a $150,000, $200,000 Bitcoin, you will probably, maybe, mathematically begin to sell off other assets. And those assets may at some point include things that you consider to have been a better store of value than Bitcoin. It may be collectibles. It may be, once again, another car. It may be gold and silver. And at some point in the future, the idea is that people will begin to potentially liquidate real estate and choose to have Bitcoin over that. When we see this gigantic cascade of money flowing from other assets directly into Bitcoin, this will boost Bitcoin's price. The higher an asset's price is, the more stable it tends to become. You can even look for this in the stock market. There's a difference between a penny stock and a Google or a Tesla or so on and so forth stock. There's a major difference in the movements that they actually make because of the amount of liquidity that they have inside of them. This is why when we talk about Bitcoin previously having a $1 trillion market cap, it lends itself to this idea of stabilization in the future. That's not to say that Bitcoin will become a stable coin or will never move up again in price. It's simply that instead of an 8 to 15% movement over the course of a week, we may only see a 2 to 3% movement up or down. That's the generalized idea. It's kind of like when you look at the value of the US dollar compared to the yen, compared to the euro. Over the course of a week or 2 week period, you may see 0.5%, a 1% movement. That's because they are extremely stable. They're still capable of moving and can, of course, go a lot further in either direction. However, because of the stability and the amount of trillions and quadrillions of dollars in these currencies, you kind of get the idea. This is where the idea of Bitcoin as a store of value comes from. No one in their right mind who understands anything that's happening within the cryptocurrency space is claiming that Bitcoin is going to be a store of value tomorrow. Bitcoin is not going to be a proper store of value probably until we get to the next decade, as we continue to see if we have the same rate of adoption that we have every day. You know how we're constantly talking about, or rather it enters the news every couple of weeks. There's X amount of new wallets entering the Bitcoin space. Bitcoin's price continues to drop, but we're still seeing thousands of new wallets every single day around the world. We just had news a couple of days ago that there were, I think, 100,000 new wallets across Latin America and portions of Africa who are going through heavy inflation. This was like a week or two ago that we ended up having this news. This is the idea. When we get to over 8 billion people who are into Bitcoin, current estimates are swinging anywhere between 45 to 50 million to just under 100 million people who are into Bitcoin, have a Bitcoin wallet, have fractions of Bitcoin, or in the Bitcoin space. When that does a 10x, the idea being as inflation continues, it will always be here, even if their target rate is 2 to 3%. And other people see that Bitcoin's price is going up, and you see that Bitcoin's price is going up, and you continue to buy more, and your family members and your friends begin to buy more. And as banks and institutions begin to adopt it, as we have already seen them doing, as we now know that they're applying for licenses, and your grandmother or your uncle at some point goes into a bank and they're offered, hey, would you like a savings account for Bitcoin? We can take $50 a month from you and you can get Satoshi. Sure, that sounds good. And more people get into the space, Bitcoin's price will continue to rise. When Bitcoin eventually would become stable enough, this is lending us to around the year 2040. I know it sounds far away. It's not as far away as you actually think. And we have actually had multiple Bitcoin halvings. At some point, I believe it's meant to be 2032 is supposed to be the turning point. This is why it's constantly a topic of discussion and why I mentioned years ago when I got into the cryptocurrency space, all of this seemed like, something that was excessively far away. The halvings will continue to have a very rapid impact on Bitcoin's price. And 2032 is meant to kind of be the turning point because so few Bitcoin will actually be released from the machine, from the system. It will have a lower stock to flow ratio than gold. You've heard stock to flow before. Stock to flow basically has to do with the amount that's being produced and the amount of the asset that people are trying to get. When we have a lower stock to flow ratio completely next to gold that is mathematically viewable, that is to say, we're not simply like, oh my gosh, I hope that on this Thursday Bitcoin stock to flow ratio. No, we will know mathematically because of the machine. Bitcoin then at that point will actually be stronger than gold as an asset. Simply by the numbers, not because you like gold coins, not because you may have a gold tooth or your father gave you something gold when you were younger. It is by the actual math because we are able to produce and find more gold every single year because of technology. We have new and better ways every year finding more gold. Bitcoin will be stronger than gold. And the idea has always been that more institutions, more people will not only begin to continue to sell off more assets, but people will begin to liquidate the other thing that has historically over the last 1,000 years been deemed as the store of value, known as gold. The idea is that countries would begin to do it. And there was an article recently that we had. I don't know if you saw it, if you were here for it. It was something along the lines of like governments and companies will be fighting over a million Bitcoin or something like that. The idea being, for those of you who weren't here, is that I think it is now between 80 to 85% of all Bitcoin is now being held by some of the richest people on the planet. You may raise your hand and scream out centralization. No, these people have been buying nonstop over the course of more than a decade as you were told to be afraid to enter or to whatever inside of the market. At a certain point in a lot of people's cryptocurrency lives, they sold off their coins because they were terrified, so they sold at a loss, or they simply saw that the market was down for over the course of a 3-year period, and they did not buy. You know who was buying? Other people who understood what Bitcoin was and other people who had large amounts of money to be able to throw into the market. So now it's roughly around 85% of all the Bitcoin. It's not just 12 people. It's still hundreds of thousands of people who have massive amounts of Bitcoin. But the idea is that all that is left or will be left by the time these other companies and governments really figure it out is only going to be roughly around 1 million Bitcoin, especially as we go from 6.25 to 3.75 to 1 point something Bitcoin, and it's a 0.75 Bitcoin that's being created by the machine. They're going to panic and begin to buy more. As Bitcoin's price then goes over $1 million and is swinging between $5 to $10 million, this is then the moment when it becomes the store of value that is actually stronger than gold. I had to explain all of that to you because I feel like, once again, that we're back in 2009, 10, 11. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how the vast majority of cryptocurrency news is just about hype. It's just about price. It's just about, there was something earlier, someone moved. It wasn't Vitalik Buterin. Somebody moved money. Somebody moved coins. And a lot of the articles that I saw at the time of me making this video were like, is Bitcoin going to fall? Is Bitcoin going back down to 20,000? You have to understand what liquidity means. It means that you can put money into relatively and take money out of relatively from the market, and it won't actually be affected in a major movement of price. If Bitcoin's market cap is $500 billion and you are taking out $25 million, you're not going to move the price. If you take out $16 billion, you may move the price by 1 or 2%, and people will wonder what happened. They'll see that there's a dip and they'll continue to buy more. That's how liquidity actually works. Someone moving money on the network is not going to cause some catastrophic event. The cryptocurrency space really needs to get it together, because I think this is, and I can't say that this is all orchestrated. I try to avoid things like that, but understand that a large portion of our market, of the stock market, of the real estate market, has to do with instilling fear in people. You have fear instilled in you to make sure that you don't enter a certain asset class so that it doesn't seem as attractive to you. Do you remember at the beginning of 2020 when the largest portion of the news was that real estate prices were going to crash, real estate prices were going to fall? You better watch out when, if you're going to buy some real estate, because it might go down. A lot of people are selling their real estate because prices are going to go down. And then what happened to real estate prices in many places around the world? Prices went up. The amount of things I see on Instagram that have to do with like financial news, and these people are like showing like, oh, in Vancouver, prices continue to rise. Who was lying to us? Prices in New York are double what they were before. Prices in Paris have continued to rise. Why are prices in Tokyo so high? Part of the news that's put out there is to make sure that you're afraid of an asset class and don't acquire it. This is why when I make videos, I make sure to tell you all the time to look over your portfolio to see if you are actually mimicking what the news is. If we continue to have amazing news within the cryptocurrency space, like actual news that's coming out, and then the other portion of the news just happens to be that you're absorbing, Bitcoin's going to go down, prices look scary, it doesn't look like it's going to work out for us, what's going to happen? That news is meant to scare you. The news of the entire FTX Sam Bankman-Fried I showed you the other day as well is still in the news. It's here to scare you. It's meant to terrify you. Sam Bankman-Fried is not this like magical evil money genie. He was a normal person who just happened to come into a lot of money, who figured out what to do with it. And now everyone pretends like because of his actions, the entire cryptocurrency market has to go to zero to be able to recover. Guess what? It didn't. Prices fell. And what's the news that we had subsequently over the course of the last year after that happened? Whales have been buying every single week. They're buying massive amounts of Bitcoin, massive amounts of Ether, massive amounts of XRP, and they're locking up these coins into trusts, into holdings, putting them away, cold storage to be seen for sometime in the future. If we end up getting to a $10 million Bitcoin, these people will be incredibly wealthy. Bringing it on back, that's the idea of Bitcoin as a store of value. For some reason, a lot of people hear that Bitcoin is supposed to be something, or they heard about it recently on the news or a year or two ago, and when it doesn't immediately show signs of being that thing, people throw it around and say, well, clearly it's not working. That's why these articles the word annoyed isn't even exactly where I was. I was kind of well beyond that, because it seems like a lot of people, and once again, I get it. I know that everyone can't be as deeply absorbed into or swimming through cryptocurrency news every single day because other things are happening in life. Believe me, the last 2 or 3 years have been absolutely ridiculous for me as well. I get it. But if you are in a market where you are potentially throwing in tens of thousands of dollars equivalent over the course of a year or 2 years, it behooves you to understand where your money is being put and what you're actually investing into. It's not simply throw your money in there and hope that you make $1 million. You have to understand where you're actually putting your money. The entire reason why the idea or perception of Bitcoin as a payment network changed is because roughly around 2014, 2015, people realized that Bitcoin was relatively slow. In the beginning, people didn't mind waiting. This sounds weird. People didn't mind waiting 15, 20, even 30 minutes for a transaction to go through the blockchain, simply because it was quicker than anything else that we actually had at the time. If you had a bank transfer and you were trying to send something on a Friday, well, guess what? It might not actually get there until next Tuesday or next Wednesday. As other blockchains began to emerge and the entire idea of I'm better than you because I have more transactions per second began to be a thing, this is when we got to the idea, well, Bitcoin's simply too slow. This was by the media, not by people who actually understood what Bitcoin was, because we had the idea of the Lightning Network already. The idea where you put your Bitcoin inside and you basically make like a road or a path for other people to be able to go through to have the instantaneous transaction speed, thus Lightning, and have a 1 cent transaction fee. However, to the outside forces within the outside of the cryptocurrency space, seeing that Bitcoin only has 3 transactions per second compared to Ethereum's 15, 30, or whatever the heck we have now because everything keeps on upgrading, and XRP's 3,000 or whatever it actually is right now because everything keeps upgrading. Therefore, the idea from the public and from institutions who began to get into the space was that, well, no one's going to be using this as an actual form of payment in any sort of way. People are going to be using this as digital gold in the future. So this guy announcing that he sees Bitcoin as a way to be a global payment network, I questioned when he actually got into Bitcoin. When did you get into the cryptocurrency space? Because you're clearly missing the entire idea. Bitcoin is already a global payment network. You can use Bitcoin anytime you want. It is the most decentralized chain that we have out there. If you just stuck to your teeth, if you just got an attitude, please leave. I have no time for nonsense anymore. Like we're well beyond that within the cryptocurrency space. You would not believe over the course of the last 6 to 7 years how many times that I say a logical fact. Water comes from the sky in the form of rain. When you walk through a forest, you see trees and people go, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what I heard. I'm not here to give you some kind of vision of a future that's not going to actually happen. I've mentioned that multiple other times before when it comes to Pepe Coin, when it comes to Tron, when it comes to all this other nonsense that people keep throwing their money into under the weird idea that you're going to become rich off of some scam. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make you understand that when you hear that the largest institutions on the planet are actively buying up Bitcoin, and I've had to multiple times go over the idea of what OTC, over-the-counter buying, actually is, because people keep saying, well, if they're buying up all this Bitcoin, why isn't the price going up? They want the price to go down to shake you out. They don't want you in this market. They don't want poor people to own cryptocurrencies. They don't want poor people to own anything. Why do you think house prices have been rising? Why do you think we're talking about corporate landlords? Why do you think we keep having, and I won't even mention the bank's name. You'll get this one very, very quick. There's a bank, very popular, one of the largest on the planet. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The last couple of years, if you look at any time that one of their associates goes on to any financial news source. They sit there and they say, like we're looking at a major downturn for stocks. About 5 days later, the stock market goes up. Anything they say is the actual inverse. They're trying to get people out of the market because they want to own everything. It's not BlackRock. It's not Fidelity. There's another major bank that has been doing this for a very long time. And the reason why I became privy to them is that years ago, they began to mention that the cryptocurrency space was terrible. No one's using it. No one's in it. Yeah, we expect Bitcoin's price to go down to zero within the next 2 years. Bitcoin price skyrockets to 20,000. So, based off of all of this news, this was, as I said before, one of the most popular, if not the most popular news story that we've actually had in a while. I'm not sure if it's because we have a bunch of new people within the cryptocurrency space. Hello, let me welcome you if you are new here. Welcome to the bottom of the market before we actually end up getting into the halving season, which is going to be absolutely insane. But I hope you understood everything that I just said. I really hope that you do your own research. It is imperative. I don't understand where this thing comes from. Like I said, I understand other things are happening in life, but you can't use that as an excuse. It just does not actually work. I have a lot of friends who only message me when the market's going back up. And it's a really weird form of friendship. I don't know if you've ever done that to someone, stop it. If you only message your friend when you need something or when you're trying to figure out how to make money or when the cryptocurrency market is going back up, you're not a good friend. I don't know how to really put that into other words. I have people who exclusively message me when prices are going back up. So by the time Bitcoin gets to a good 40, 45, 50,000, they're going to be messaging me again, asking me, oh, hey, how's it going? Have you seen Bitcoin's price? Totally crazy, right? Should I be putting money into the market? I don't answer these people. I make sure that I open up their message so that they can see the 2 blue check marks to see that I've looked at it and read it. And I will not respond back to them because I have zero patience for that. So I let them do as they will with the actual market. Yes, Bitcoin already is a global payment network. It is decentralized. It is for everyone to use as you so wish. However, the news that David Marcus was talking about turning Bitcoin into a worldwide payment network kind of sent me through the roof, because I think there's a huge amount of disinformation, miscommunication, something that's going on within the space. And I think we all really need to, kind of get it together before we have some really bad days in front of us. The Lightning Network is a thing. It has been a thing for a while and will continue to grow larger. If you do not know what the Lightning Network is, please look it up. There's a Lightning Network website. You can read about it. You can watch a 3.5-minute video on YouTube about what it is. It'll definitely make you understand that Bitcoin is already a payment network. There are countries with an S around the world who are using the Lightning Network as their main form of transacting in Bitcoin. There are at least 3 companies right now that are very well known that use the Lightning Network when sending Bitcoin transactions, because they understand that 3 transactions per second is very slow. Very, very popular news. This was going around as if this guy just revolutionized the idea of what Bitcoin is. Wherever Satoshi Nakamoto might be, or whoever they might be, they must have seen this news. They're either having a gigantic laugh, or they're rolling their eyes in their heads so much that they now have a headache. There's only one of 2 actual solutions. What these rich people continue to say that they are going to change Bitcoin into is already what Bitcoin is. So I mentioned before, we do not need wealthy people in this market. Bitcoin will be just fine. Of course, extra billions of dollars does accelerate the movement of the market and also the infrastructure building. But without them, we will and would have been just fine. However, once again, we've gotten to the point where these people are trying to make themselves into the next Warren Buffett. They're trying to make themselves into the next Oracle of crypto. They're trying to always tell you, I have this new revolutionary way for you to use the blockchain, and people keep falling for it because people don't dig any further as to what exactly cryptocurrencies are. That's why when we had that news a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who missed it, Visa said they found a brand new way to use Ethereum. Basically, you take your Ether and you send it to Visa. This is not a joke. You send it to Visa on their website. And then from there, Visa sends it to another third-party clearinghouse. From there, it may go to another clearinghouse, and then it finally goes to the person who you're trying to send it to. Why would you need to do that when you can do all of that already on the blockchain? You can already do that yourself. This man is not going to transform Bitcoin into a payment method. When we talk about that there are trillions of dollars flowing through Bitcoin system every single month, what do you think Bitcoin is? It's a global payment system. Did we not get that before? Anyway, I'm exhausted. I do sincerely hope that you all got something from this. And I mean that from the bottom of my digital heart. Like, I really hope everyone took something from this. I hope you find the courage in your day to take 10 minutes out to research stuff. 10 minutes a day. It's literally not that hard. This is also for those of you who are, for the 1% out there who actually want this and will use it. It's a great way to learn a language. You don't need to spend hours per day learning a language. A really good way to learn a language is you learn 3 words a day. It sounds ridiculous, but by the end of the year, you will know over 1,000 words in that language. The idea of being relatively fluent in a language is knowing anywhere from 500 to 1,000 words within that language. It sounds ridiculous. It doesn't sound like a lot. But if you listen to the words that we say over and over and over within a language, I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Where is the bathroom? Where is food? How much is this? We use the same words over and over and over. The addition of the extra couple hundred on top is for like light complexity. If you want to be fluent in a language, you need to learn, I think it's between 2,000 to 4,000 words. That is like hyper fluency, but 3 words a day takes 10 minutes. Literally memorize these words. At some point, you will be able to smash these words together and then you make a sentence. Crazy, right? Anyway, I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, great morning, great afternoon, or great evening, wherever you are, or wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.